So if we test it, right? So let's just you save it first, and then you need to run always the main, and then that's it, right? So let's wait a little bit, and voila, you can see here that, well, you see like I got another one, but you can see here that I got the labels, and yeah, like it kind of clean. You don't see any Gmail account, Google account, Google email here, and also Amazon. I think this is for app. This is another email address. But in case I wanted to also, for example, put this one under Amazon, I just copy this email address and I put it here, right? And then I run it again, and then that will go there. All right, guys. So short and sweet, how you can connect Gmail API to a Google Sheet. So this one, like the Gmail API has different phases, right? Like you can think of it like there is a simple way to connect to Gmail with AppScript, and that's like something that is called just Gmail app within AppScript, and this is the one that I'm going to explain today with a use case. There is another two layers on top of that. One is that you can use like the wrapper, which is advanced Gmail API within AppScript. And with that, you can do more things, right? Maybe you can do like more advanced things in Gmail. But for this case scenario, I don't think we need it. In case you guys like it, just down in the comments, just give me a comment that you want to see the next version of it, and then I can come up with a use case, right? But for this, the Gmail app, the basic one, you can do most things, right? And there is the third layer, which is like when you want to like use all the options, but also you want to detach from AppScript. And in that case, you need to go through all the Google authentication, usually like similar to when you connect to like any other API within Google, right? Like Google Ads or like any of that. You need to do all the authentication, create an app in Google Cloud, and then there you get a refresh token, and with that refresh token you can make calls, right? So that's when you want to detach from AppScript, and maybe you want to use this API with Python or something else, right? In that case, also let me know if you want to know about that, and I can prepare a video for that in the future. But for this case in scenario in a specific, like what I've noticed is like one case that many people always use this API, but they don't know how to do it, is like organizing Gmail, right? So you have a bunch of emails. Like for example, this is my Gmail that I use for these demos, and you can see that I have like like all the promotions and the stuff that I get, right? So let's say I would like to organize this data. Let's say I want to put like these emails coming from Amazon, for example. I want to put them in a label called Amazon. And then I want to have also the ones like all these security alerts. These are like pretty much every time that I authorize an script in Google Sheets, you always get this email like security alert, blah, 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 right? So let's say I want to pull all these emails also in a label. And then once you have the labels, you could do whatever, right? You could literally just have the labels there, or you could just delete the whole label with all the emails inside. So that will also clean all the trash, right? So for people who has like a bunch of data, a lot of emails, this might be helpful, right? And I've seen on forums that this is one of the cases most people use this API, right? And it's pretty straightforward. So I coded everything for you guys, so you just need to literally run it. So I will start from scratch and explain everything as always, so you can just follow with me, right? So first we need to create a spreadsheet, right? So we can just give it a name here. We can have it like email cleaner or something. Just for this time, I'm gonna put like that. And then we go to extensions and we go to AppScript. Let me copy this. So we rename it same, right? So this is the name. Make this bigger. Okay, so this is the email cleaner, right? So basically, this one is pretty straightforward. We don't need much code, and we don't need to authenticate any of that because we're using the email app. As I mentioned, this is the basic layer. There are two more layers, but this is the basic one. You don't need to do anything. Just literally call the email app within AppScript, and it's gonna do everything using your authentications. When the first time that you run the script, it's gonna prompt you to like give authorization it's gonna take that authorization and use that, right? Because it's within your same Google account, you know. If you wanted to do this with a different Google account, let's say you're doing this for like a client or something, in that case, you need to go to a third layer that I explained. You need to get a refresh token because you don't have access, right? Like the person needs to give access and you give access creating the refresh token. Hope that makes sense. But yeah, you know, as always, I have a config here, and then I try to do it like as dynamic as possible. So you can see here that we will have a sheet name, right? Because we need to read the rules. So this is the demo that I was actually, no, yeah, this is the one that I had. So for example, here we will have two labels, right? Two headers, right? One is gonna be the email address and the other one the label. So that's pretty much the logic. We wanna look up for these emails in our Gmail, and then find once we find all the threads, everything is gonna put that under a label. In this case, everything coming from this email address is gonna go to this label Amazon, and all of these coming from accounts is gonna go to, which is pretty much the same that I explained. Right, the ones coming from Amazon here, all these promotions, and every time that I authorize a script in Google Sheets, I always get this email security alert. So I will just put that in labels here. So we need to read from somewhere in the Google Sheet. In this case, I will call my sheet rules, but you can put whatever you want, right? So you see, I put it here rules, and then you gotta put it here rules as well, right? Then the header, this is just in case you wanna move the header somewhere else. Let's say you wanna edit something else, right? In this case, my headers will be embedding in the first row, so email address, and then we have here the label where we want this to go, right? That is, yeah, that's pretty much this part. And then from where we need to start reading the data, right? So in this case, you know, this is the label, this is the header, so we will start reading from row 2, you know, under that. That's what it's trying to say here. And then what is the column from the sender? This is the email address, column A. And what is the label? Column 2, which is this one, right? In case you move these columns around, I added some comments here. So, you know, A means 1. So you need to reference this as an index. So, you know, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and, you know, that's the logic there. And then this is something I added because, you know, like if you have like many emails, right? Like, let's say you have like, I don't know, like hundreds of thousands or something. Maybe this you need to like go step by step, and you don't want to like, you know, clean up a bunch of stuff, and you don't know, right? So you might start just with a little bit, maybe 100 emails, and see if actually the code is working. So this is what I added here, right? So you can set a cap, how many emails to check, right? So in this case, I will put 2000, but I mean, as I mentioned, this is just my demo email. So I literally have like, you know, like 20 emails or something. But like if you have a bunch of data, you can just set a cap here, and that will stop as soon as it gets to this cap. Okay, so now with that, we have the config ready. So we can move forward with the code. So basically the code, the structure for the code is like we will have a main function. As always have a main function, and the idea is that it's gonna orchestrate everything, right? Okay, so we will have two functions. I mean, we will have three functions, right? Like the main that I just explained, and then we will have two more functions. One is gonna be the one that is gonna get the rules from the spreadsheet and create like, you know, a proper like okay, first we start with this rule, and then we start with this rule, right? Each rule being an email address with a label. And then a second function that is gonna query that is gonna receive these rules, and then it's gonna go to Gmail, query those emails, and then organize those emails depending on the label that we put there, right? So if we start with the first one, which is the main orchestrator, you can see here So the main orchestrator is pretty small. We have just the first part, which is getting the active sheet because we're reading rules here. Then here we're reading the rules from the spreadsheet. So this will be the function that I mentioned, the first function that is gonna get the rules that we have in the sheet, which is right like the email address and the labels. And then this third step, basically what we're doing is like once we have these rules, we kind of like just organizing them like one by one, right? So each row will be one rule, and then we pass those rules here, right, into this function that is gonna like pretty much run the logic for the email, right? So if we start with this first part, like this get sender label rules, right? You can see here that basically what we're doing is like, okay, we're getting the spreadsheet, right? So we are just making sure that there is actually data there. And then here we're using, okay, the last columns in the ranges that we set up here, right? And then that's pretty much it, we're getting here the data and we're building the array. And then once we have that, we have this part here, which is rules, and then we perform this part here, and then we need to do this function, right? So this other function is a bit longer, but basically this is the thing that is happening here. So you can see this is the thing that I was mentioning in the beginning, right? So Gmail app. So this is like you can think of it like a function that is taking care of the stuff, all this basic stuff like authentication and all of that. So this is the basic one that you will use in most cases in AppScript. But there are two more, right? The other one is the advanced Gmail that you set up here. You go to services here, and then you look up for Gmail API. This is the most advanced one. And then there's the third layer, which is like literally going to Google Cloud and setting up everything yourself with a refresh token and everything, right? So yeah, just let me know if you want to see more things about Gmail in more advanced cases, and just put it down below, and I will go through that with you guys in another video. Okay, so we have here the first part, but basically what we're doing is like we're making sure that we have the label. So if there's no label, because maybe this is the first time that you're running this, we create a label and then we can put the emails under that. But if there's a label already, so it will just return the label, right? And then here, this is the query. So basically how this part works is that you kind of like search the emails with queries, right? Like SQL and stuff like that. Same thing here, but it's just like everything is taken care of using the Gmail app, but you gotta set up a query, right? So it's gonna be like from what that will the sender, and that's the sender that we put here, right? And then that's it, right? Pretty much that's the query, right? We're looking for all the emails coming from that sender, and then this is the logic for the cup. So as I mentioned, in case you're like you need to set up like a cup for this, you can just put that. In case you don't want a cup, you can put this like 10,000 or something, and that's fine, right? And then this is just to control how many emails were already processed until we get to that cup, right? And that's pretty much the loop, right? So we kind of like just looping and finding the emails. When we find the email, we put it under the label. You can see here it's pretty much right, like looping. We find an email, we put it under that label, and we keep looping until we finish, until we either finish or we get to the cup here, right? So that's what you're seeing here. So that's pretty much the logic. So let's test it out, right? So you can see here that I was testing with something else here, but let's do that. So this is the spreadsheet that I just created with you. So you can see here that all the emails coming from this email address should go to this Amazon label, and then only ones from this Google account should go to Google, right? So if we test it, right? So let's just you save it first, and then you need to run always the main. First time you get prompt this the request access. You say advanced, yeah, and you don't forget to always tick this, right? So you tick that, and then that's it, right? So let's wait a little bit. And voila, you can see here that, well, you see like I got another one, but you can see here that I got the labels. And yeah, like it kind of clean. You don't see any email account, Google account, Google email here, and also Amazon. I think this is for app. This is another email address. But in case I wanted to also, for example, put this one under Amazon, I just copy this email address and I put it here, right? And then I run it again, and then that will go there. But you can see here, right? So under the labels, we have the 2 emails from Amazon, and then here we have, I'm gonna refresh this, and we have here all the emails coming from Google. So the way I see it here is like you could use this code to either organize data or literally clean your email, right? Because once you like, let's say you don't want to see these emails anymore, well, you just literally delete these, right? Sorry, you click here and then you delete all the emails, and then you delete the label, right? And then that way you will literally clean all the emails from that email address. So this will be like a really fast way of cleaning your email, and I think it will be really helpful for you guys. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions. As always, I have the code down below in the description. Just go there. That's gonna take you to my website. You can download the code there for free, and then you can just reuse it. And in case you have questions, just let me know. Put them down below in the comments. I will reply to them as soon as I see them. And yeah,